Oh, hello. Just reading reading the symbiote arc. Feels appropriate since my next commentary companions episode is Spider-Man 3. Feels appropriate since I'm wearing the right shirt. Let's just say I know some of you have been waiting in anticipation. But yeah, now I'm doing it. The Commentary Companions episode for Spider-Man 3. Available to stream. Over here you can watch the movie on these platforms. Or you can watch Spider-Man 3 on DVD while listening to the commentary. So, come on to the lab. See what's on the slab. I know you shiver with anticipation. But anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy my Commentary Companions episode on Spider-Man 3, A Thwip. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today we'll be looking at Spider-Man 3, released in 2007. This is often considered the much maligned version of the Spider-Man trilogy from Sam Raimi, and if you want my honest opinion about it, I know that it's not perfect, and Lord knows it's nowhere near as great as Spider-Man 2 after I rewatched Spider-Man 2, but I still have a soft spot for it. I mean, I remember getting to watch it with my mom and my sister when my mom bought tickets for the movie back when I was living in Bellevue, Washington. So I still have a soft spot for it, and the cast are doing their best. And also, let's talk about this title sequence. I really like that for this title sequence, they're basically showing a recap of the first two films, which I'm actually cool with. There's a lot of it I like, but even as I've grown older, there are a lot of things I'm willing to admit aren't perfect, and I'll get into it, as well as the facts of it. And this was my introduction to a lot of things. I think 2007 was quite a year for Christopher Young, the film's composer, because he composed Spider-Man 3 alongside Spider-Man 3. And yeah, if I had a nickel for every time Christopher Young did a score for a Marvel film in 2007, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that it's happened twice. And it has some good moments in it. I didn't even realize as I listened to this to the beginning theme, it's like it's combining both the symbiote theme and the Sandman theme. And I am a little sad knowing that Danny Elfman isn't the one composing the score, mainly due to Sam Raimi's falling out with Danny Elfman, and yeah, I understand why, but yeah, this was actually Christopher Young's technically second collaboration with Sam Raimi, because he did some assisting composing for Spider-Man 2. But this was his first credited collaboration with Sam Raimi. He would then compose the music for Drag Me to Hell. But anyway, also, this is actually the first in the Spider-Man trilogy in which Sam Raimi actually has direct involvement writing the script alongside his brother, Ivan Raimi. Yeah, Sam's brother, Ivan, is a writer as well. Now, in total, Spider-Man 3 took 2 years and 10 months to make. So, if I'm correct, I guess that must have been after 2004, and I think by then they pretty much finished completing the film around 2006. And hey, there's Planet Hollywood. There's something you don't see every day. Along came a Spidey. But yeah, this actually combines a lot of elements. Now that's a miracle. Yeah, and there's Flash Thompson, I think. Now, at one point, Sam Raimi thought of splitting splitting the film into two films, which maybe that could have helped. But yeah, it's like Spider-Man 3 combines all three Raimi brothers. Sam as the director, Ivan as one of the co-writers, and Ted Raimi as an actor in the role of Hoffman. Manhattan Memories. But yeah, the song that Mary Jane is singing is they say it's "Falling in Love" is was written by Irving Berlin, best known for writing "God Bless America" and "White Christmas," and was from the musical "Annie Get Your Gun." And yeah, "Annie Get Your Gun" was written and composed by Irving Berlin, and it was known for other songs like "There's No Business Like Show Business," "Doing What Comes Naturally," "You Can't Get a Man with a Gun," and "Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better." I didn't even know this was an Irving Berlin song when I first listened to this when watching Spider-Man 3. Didn't even know it was an yeah. I didn't know about Annie Get Your Gun, and I didn't know about that this was an Irving Berlin song. But yeah, actually, I can see how I definitely can tell this is an Irving Berlin song due to the way he composes certain songs. I like Irving Berlin, and honestly, I think I should rewatch White Christmas. I'd be open to doing a commentary companions episode to White Christmas if you guys want me to, or even Holiday Inn. Although Holiday Inn might be a tad uncomfortable to talk about, if you know what I mean. And, Kirsten Dunst isn't terrible at singing it. I mean, she's certainly a better singer than Colin Reisenauer, that's for sure. Yep, and it'd be funny if they were in the car and they were like, not. Now, reportedly, an early draft had John Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson's son and the astronaut. He was supposed to return from a space mission with the symbiote as a stowaway. To save time and money, this was eliminated in favor of, having the meteorite just happen to land next to Peter Parker. The Jameson space mission story was reused for Venom, the 2018 film, but instead, Wright was the symbiote. Also, Tobey Maguire really enjoyed making this film as it afforded him the chance to play a different side of Peter Parker. Yep, and there are all the Green Goblin masks, including what I swear is a Hobgoblin mask somewhere. I really have to look deep into this cave. When I was a kid, I always thought that it was perfume that they used for that when using the Goblin formula. But he sure did take that serum well. And I find this scene of Peter and MJ just hanging in that web a really nice scene. Oof, famous last words. I know. Interestingly, James Franco was working on Spider Man 3 while also filming Pineapple Express at the same time. I bet that must have been weird. Here's Venom. Now, as you know, the symbiote is a flowing sentient liquid ooze. Sam Raimi was very clear on the film's portrayal of the symbiote. He wanted it to have character, but not to resemble a spider or an octopus. As portrayed in the film, it possesses a webbing form. It was composed of many separate CGI threads that gives it a sense of life and an appearance of gripping onto someone's body. Which I think makes sense, you know? You got a train to catch. Oh, wait, wrong movie. Yeah, who is this man in orange? Oh, yeah. There's Flint Marko. Fun fact, in the comics, Flint Marko is just an alias, and his real name is actually William Baker. He goes by a lot of names, but I didn't know his Flint Marko was just an alias, and that William Baker is his actual name. But in the comics, Flint is not a father to a sick and terminally ill child. At least, no, I don't think she's terminally ill in this cut. But in one original draft, his daughter Penny was sick, and there would be no cure for her sickness, which sucks, you know. Yeah, not exactly the tooth fairy. But yeah, I'm familiar with Thomas Hayden Church, and it's more than for just. Of course, when I became familiar with Thomas Hayden Church, it was for his voice performances in Over the Hedge and Charlotte's Web, and not Wings or George of the Jungle. But Thomas has. I really do. He's perfectly cast as Flint Marko. I mean, costume design is great, and the costume design is great, and the costume is great, and he really does look like the character. Now, Flint Marko / Sandman made his comic book debut in The Amazing Spider-Man #4 in 1963. Now, Thomas Hayden Church was offered the role of Flint Marko on the strength of his performance in Sideways. He accepted the part despite the fact that there was no script. And he confessed that when when he was unceremoniously invited to meetings at Sony, he had no idea he would be auditioning for Spider-Man 3. And in fact, Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire were the driving forces that got Sandman into the film. During press interviews for the first two Spider-Man films, Raimi and Maguire repeatedly mentioned Sandman as a villain they would like to see in the third film. As Dr. Evil would, I'm sure she's probably thinking to herself, right. And there's Rosemary Harris as Aunt May. And, yeah, Rosemary Harris is still my favorite Aunt May. And I know people think that the scenes with her are long and boring, but I like the scene of Aunt May talking about her feelings for Uncle Ben. Now, to prepare for the role of Sandman, Thomas Hayden Church worked out for 16 months, losing 10 pounds of fat and gaining 28 pounds of muscle. He based his performance on misunderstood monsters, like the Golem from Jewish folklore, Frankenstein's monster from the 1931 movie, and the 1933 version of King Kong. And of course, the release date for the film was set before Spider-Man 2 was even released. Now, this film was reportedly the most expensive film ever made in U.S. money, with a greenlit budget of $250 million. However, with the ground-up development of revolutionary CGI, the astronomical costs of shooting on location in New York, reportedly at $1 million per day, and extensive reshoots which overran the production schedule an additional 8 months, have led many industry insiders to speculate a final tab of $350 million or more in production costs alone. If this figure is true, then only Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End comes in second with a final budget of $300 million. And, well, interestingly, Sam Raimi is the first director to helm 3 installments in the superhero franchise. And at the time, Bryan Singer had only made 2 X-Men movies, and Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher each did 2 Batman movies. Christopher Nolan is second with his Dark Knight trilogy, and Bryan Singer became third when he returned for X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, over 1,000 people worked on the film, some of them putting in the 8,000 hours needed to construct the 40 Spider-Man suits and other writing complicated CGI software, which is amazing. Also, what a detail I didn't notice was when the symbiote attaches to Peter's motorcycle license plate, it takes on the shape of a V. V, of course, is for Venom. You know, I think if they had taken out the symbiote storyline in general, then, and focused on Harry as the new Goblin and Flint Marko as Sandman, maybe Spider-Man 3 could have been a bit better and probably would have been less maligned. Personally, yeah, I agree. Harry's new Goblin suit is sort of lame. A very missed opportunity to wear the traditional green and purple suit. Something less generic. Or even the Hobgoblin suit. That would have been more interesting. Walter Panasiak thought Harry as Hobgoblin would have made better sense. But speaking of goblins, Harry Osborn debuted as Green Goblin in The Amazing Spider-Man number 136, released in September 1st of 1974, written by Jerry Conway and illustrated by Ross Andrew. I mean, it is interesting, the idea of Harry being Green Goblin. It almost seems like the natural conclusion for Harry's arc. And, James Franco does a good job pretending to be the new Goblin. He's intimidating. Apparently, when Doug Walker was watching Spider-Man 3 in theaters, the audience gasped when Peter nearly dropped a proposal ring. I mean, anyone would. That proposal ring means a lot to him. It's just a shame that Peter couldn't be... Harry couldn't be reasoned with. Actually, I like the device of... I like that the that the hoverboard pretty much, or should I say, hover glider pretty much starts beeping without Harry. Oh, that's an interesting airplane sound effect. Yeah, it's like the problem is it feels like a generic black suit with a generic black jumpsuit with green highlights. I don't understand why it couldn't be a purple suit with green highlights, and I mean bright purple. That would have made better sense. I mean, I can see aspects of green if I squint hard enough. It's like, oh, I didn't know you cared, Harry. Kind of looks like reminds me of a green lightsaber almost. The aspects of green light sparking as he stabs everything. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'd hate them too. Especially if they explode. Then you're reduced to a bastard skelly. Whoops. Ouch. I wonder what it would be like to explain to the doctors how he got that little knife wound. Baby knife. Okay, technically they're not baby knives. I mean, those are some sharp knives. Maybe not as sharp as whoa, they're combustible. Uh-oh. Yoink. Oh, my back! My back! Yeah, holy head trauma, Batman! Or worse. The film's visual effects designer, Scott Stockdyke. Here's how it's spelled: Stokdyk. I'll just say Stockdyke. Stockdyke created a miniature of a skyscraper section of a 1/16th scale. Instead of using CGI, to save time and costs, and so that damage done to the building could be portrayed realistically. Also, oh yeah, Captain George Stacy, played by James Cromwell, made his comic book debut in The Amazing Spider-Man number 56 in 1968, and George was created by Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. Now, Sandman had been one of those was actually a character that James Cameron wanted to use in his Spider-Man movie. In fact, this was so important that John Semper Jr. and the rest of the crew members of Spider-Man the Animated Series decided to not include Sandman so that James Cameron could focus on using the character. Now, if Sandman had appeared in James Cameron's Spider-Man, he would have been a henchman known as Boyd, and Sandman, who would have been a muscle henchman, would have worked for Electro, and that version of Electro would have been known as Carlton Strand. And James Cameron wanted Michael Biehn, best known for playing Kyle Reese in The Terminator, to play Sandman. I mean, I don't know if I could really imagine Michael Biehn playing Sandman. He could have gotten. I mean, if I was James Cameron, I would have chosen maybe, a 6'5" bodybuilder to play with a Lou Ferrigno vibe to play this version of Sandman. I mean, but Thomas Hayden Church is perfectly cast as Flint Marko. So maybe it's a good thing Michael Biehn wasn't cast as Flint Marko. I mean, I like Michael Biehn. I like his performance as Kyle Reese in The Terminator, but I just don't see him playing Sandman in James Cameron's version of Spider-Man. It's too absurd. But who knew that this particle accelerator would cause Flint to mutate? Holy, holy grains of sand, Batman! Or maybe holy mutation, Batman! According to producer Grant Curtis, in early production, the Vulture was originally going to be in the movie, and Sir Ben Kingsley was involved in negotiations to play him before the character's storyline was replaced by Venom. Of course, Ben Kingsley would later appear as Trevor Slattery in Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi, and Vulture would make his on-screen debut in Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, Alvin Sargent, who's the co-writer of Spider-Man 3, secured a 7-figure deal to rewrite Spider-Man 2 and work on Spider-Man 3. Now, Spider-Man 3 opened in 4,252 theaters, more than any other movie before, beating out the former record holder, Shrek 2, which opened in 4,223 theaters. The record was then beaten by Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, which opened in 4,362 theaters in the U.S. Also, in Russia, the film was released as Spider-Man 3, Enemy in the Reflection. Not a bad title idea. Now, the alleyway where Peter Parker tries to resuscitate Harry is the same one used in the first Spider-Man film, where Peter discovers his powers for the first time. Nothing could go wrong. Now, actually, this scene with Flint forming as the Sandman, this actually might be one of the best scenes of the film, because it plays like a silent film, and absolutely no dialogue is played throughout the film. But it works to the film's benefit, and it's a well done score on Christopher Young's part, as he is able to make Flint a very sympathetic character. And it's kind of relaxing. Now, when production started, the computer programs to render the Sandman and his capabilities had not been developed. As production progressed, these programs were completed, but the amount of man-hours put into meet the deadlines was astronomical. And real sand was used for Sandman, except when characters were being buried or covered in sand. Since real sand would have been a possible hazard for such scenes, ground-up corn cobs were used instead. And it actually took 3 years to create the visual effects required to portray the Sandman's powers. To understand the dynamics of sand and various experiments were conducted with sands, launching sand at stuntmen, splashing the stuff around, and pouring it over ledges. Sand sculptors were also consulted for advice. And honestly, the character doesn't even need to say anything for us to understand what his motives are and how he feels. It, I was really moved by the scene when I was 10, and I'm still moved by it today. And we really sympathize with the character. This actually might be my favorite score that Christopher Young has composed for Spider-Man 3, and one of my favorite scores that Young composed for Hellraiser would have to be Frank's Resurrection. Yep. And I like how as he transitions back to human, it almost looks like Santa's being dusted off of his clothes. According to composer Christopher Young, the Sandman's theme was composed with 2 contrabass saxophones, 2 contrabass clarinets, 2 contrabass bassoons, and 8 very low French horns to describe Sandman as heavy and aggressive. Which I think kind of works. Oh, yep. I think it's actually, I like that the door is almost a running gag in the film. Yep. I mean, you could go to Lowe's or Home Depot to get a better door. I'm sure Mr. Ditkovich wouldn't mind. Oop. Yep. It never is. Yeah, it's like she doesn't like Seabiscuit. Yep, which is actually understandable for Mary Jane to say. Uh-oh. Oh, that was a quick clothes change. Now, partial scenes where Spider-Man is hanging from the back of an armored car were filmed in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, due to high shooting costs in New York City. Could you imagine what would happen if the symbiote had bonded with Mary Jane first? Okay, you DeviantArt perverts, don't get any ideas. Yeah, that's not good. Apparently that photographer was had done a magic trick, done magic tricks for Bryce Dallas Howard to when Bryce was a kid, and yeah, this was actually the first. This was actually the first time I'd ever seen Bryce Dallas Howard in anything. I didn't know that she was director and actor Ron Howard's daughter. And yeah, this is also notable for being the on-screen debut of Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy's daughter. Now, Gwen Stacy made her comic book debut in The Amazing Spider-Man number 31 in 1965, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Oh man, it's like they were at the wrong place and at the wrong time. And apparently, Bryce Dallas Howard was actually pregnant while filming those stunts. Ha, bitch, you thought. To prevent confusion with this 2007 Marvel film, the filmmakers of Ghost Rider decided to kill the villain Gressel off earlier on the latter movie because he has the same abilities as Sandman and to prevent confusion with the other elemental villain. Also, Spider-Man 3 marks the third and last time a Spider-Man film was released in the same year as a Harry Potter film. Spider-Man came out the same year as Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Spider-Man 2 came out the same year as Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And this film came out the same year as Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Also, yes, this was my first introduction to actor Topher Grace. And I didn't know that at the time Topher Grace actually left That 70s Show to work on Spider-Man 3. And I didn't know who Topher Grace was. I'd never seen a single episode of That 70s Show. And given the scandal with Danny Masterson, I probably never will watch That 70s Show. But I do respect Topher Grace for not standing by with Danny Masterson. I mean, who would have thought Topher Grace would have been a better human being than would have been a better human being than Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. I mean, hey, at least Topher Grace has standards. Now, Spider-Man 3 is considered to be the Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and X-Men The Last Stand of the Spider-Man trilogy, as the film follows Peter as he succumbs to his darker side when the symbiote assimilates him and his Spider-Man outfit. Revenge of the Sith is of course about Anakin turning to the dark side and becoming Darth Vader. And Last Stand is about Jean Grey succumbing to her darker side and returning from the dead as Phoenix. Also, Spider-Man 3 is the first Spider-Man film to not be nominated for any Academy Awards. Oof. Now, when Hoffman is pitching ideas for ad campaigns to Jameson, he says, "As you know, circulation of the Bugle has been pretty good, though not as good as the New York Times or the Daily News or the Post or several other smaller," before Jameson cuts him off. The New York Daily News and the New York Post were the inspirations for the Daily Bugle. In the films, the Bugle's overall design mirrors the Post's, complete with a red bannered logo and large tabloid-style text on the front page. Now, Eddie Brock started off in a brief cameo in Web of Spider-Man number 18 in 1986. And of course, interestingly, Eddie Brock is like a combination of the comic book version of Eddie Brock from the main Marvel timeline, and also combining the Ultimate Eddie Brock from the Ultimate Marvel line, the previous Ultimate Marvel line. from 2003 to around the 2010s that introduced Miles Morales, that ultimate Marvel. And Spider-Man 3 was shot over a period of 100 days. And this is what Sam Raimi has to say about Peter's development in Spider-Man 3. The most important thing Peter right now has to learn is that this whole concept of him as the Avenger or him as the hero, he wears this red and blue outfit with each criminal he brings to justice. He's trying to pay down this debt of guilt he feels about the death of Uncle Ben. He considers himself a hero and a sinless person versus these villains that he nabs. We felt it would be a great thing for him to learn a little less black and white view of life and that he's not above these people. Now, oh wait, I think I may have to talk about this later. Now, prints were delivered to some theaters under the codename Let's Dance Again. Also, interestingly, the movie was released the same day as the Spider-Man video game. And also, as I mentioned in Ghost Rider, Toy Biz used to do toy lines for the Marvel movies, and the Spider-Man films were no exception. If I'm correct, Toy Biz pretty much had been doing action figures for Spider-Man since the 1980s, and also he really started to shine with the animated series. And here's my favorite cameo from Stan Lee. Enough said. Perfection. That's my favorite Stan Lee cameo. But anyway, back on subject with Toy Biz. Toy Biz had been doing Spider-Man action figures since they had partially owned Marvel, and they pretty much had the toy licensing rights. They did the action figures for Spider-Man the Animated Series, and they also did a toy line for the first two Spider-Man films. But after Marvel decided to gave the toy licensing rights to Hasbro, Hasbro pretty much then did toy lines for X-Men The Last Stand, and then Ghost Rider. Spider-Man 3 was the first Spider-Man movie to have a toy line from Hasbro instead of Toy Biz. And, and they've been doing the toy line ever since. And the toys that Hasbro have done for Spider-Man 3 are pretty good. They're decent, They got a lot of good detail. And this is wait, maybe I'll get to it later. Also, Spider-Man 3 is notable for being the first movie in the trilogy that wasn't released on VHS because by then, VHSs died. But not like Jagger. Now, interestingly, Eddie Brock is mentioned in the first film by Robbie as a regular photographer for the Daily Bugle. It is said that even he is unable to get pictures of Spider-Man. This prompts Jameson to seek a photographer who can, which is how the newspaper comes to employ Peter Parker. Despite this, Eddie introduces himself as the new guy after he meets Spider-Man. Oof. Bad day. Also, this is interesting. Spider Man 3 is the only film in the trilogy where Aunt May is not threatened by either of the villains. The film's IMAX screenings reached $20 million in 30 days, faster than any other 2D film remastered in the format. Boom! Friend-zoned. Now, John Dykstra, who won an Oscar for his work as visual effects supervisor on Spider Man 2, had declined to work on the third film. Instead, Dykstra chose to work on Hot Wheels, which I think we've never seen. And we got Scott Stockdyke taking over as visual effects supervisor. At the time of its release, Spider-Man 3 was the highest-grossing film domestically that was not nominated for an Academy Award. Release prints were delivered to theaters in 3 parts, each with a fake title. Reels 1 3 5, Two Timing Friend, Reels 2 and 4, Back for More, Reels 6 and 7, Listening Heart. Now, the demanding shoot in Cleveland meant that a section in downtown was closed down. The pavements had to be repainted to resemble those in New York. Traffic signs and electricity poles were removed for stunts. The shooting schedule also overlapped with the start of the MLB season for the Cleveland Indians, as well as the NBA playoffs for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the heavier-than-usual traffic had to be rerouted. Despite all this, it is reported that the people of Cleveland welcomed the crew and didn't complain about the disruption the shoot caused. Well, that's nice. Now, Sam Raimi intended to further develop Peter's character with the planned film focusing on Peter learning that he is not a sinless vigilante and that there can also be humanity in those he considers criminals, especially as the Venom symbiote brings out the darker aspects of Peter's personality upon bonding with him. Raimi himself quoted, "The most important thing Peter right now has to learn is that this whole concept of him as the Avenger or him as the hero, he wears this red and blue outfit. With each criminal he brings to justice, he's trying to pay down the debt of guilt he feels about the death of Uncle Ben. He considers himself a hero and a sinless person versus these villains that he nabs. We felt it would be a great thing for him to learn a little less black and white view of life and that he's not above these people." Raimi based his ideas out of the original comic books. Phil Saunders, one of the yard crew members, says that production designer Neil Spizak was let go just a few weeks into principal photography. J. Michael Riva was subsequently hired for the remainder of the principal filming and reshoots. However, both Spizak and Riva are credited in the main title sequence. "'Cause I'm as free as a bird." Womp womp. Which does sound nice. Also, yeah, I like this band arrangement of the classic Spider-Man theme song. DC called. He says they said they want their quote back. Oh man, yeah. I think I agree with the kid. No, Spider-Man, no. Oof. Uh-oh, holy sandstorm, Batman. Immediately after Spider-Man 2 released, Ivan Raimi wrote a plot for the third film in 2 months. According to Sam Raimi, the film initially dealt with the concept of heroes with a dark side and villains with a sympathetic side, as well as dealing with the triangle between Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry. The Sandman was made the film's official villain, and the screenwriters made his character merely a petty criminal in the comics, the real killer of Ben Parker to further Peter's guilt over his uncle's death. Raimi wanted another villain in the film and eventually settled on the popular villain Venom to please the fans, pretty much forced on him by the studio. There was also the addition of a rival love interest, Gwen Stacy, to complicate personal matters. However, with all these additions, the story became so complex that Alvin Sargent considered cutting it into 2 films, before realizing he could not create a successful intermediate climax for the third film to lead into the fourth. Also, that scene with Peter's hand going through Sandman was accomplished by having congenial amputee boxer Baxter Humby taking Tobey Maguire's place in filming that scene. So yeah, amputee was pretty much put his amputated hand on Thomas Hayden Church's fist to make it look like Spider-Man's hand went through the sand chest. It's actually not a bad use of practical effects. Oof. That could have been fatal and that could have resulted in a red trail, if you know what I mean. Oof, sand. It's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere. Including shoes, apparently. Oof. Put salt in the wound and take thy beak from out thy heart. And there's Bruce Campbell. Yep. And he's just pretending to be French. Now, many fans have observed similarities between Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films and the first 3 Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and in keeping with those comparisons, people can identify several parallels between Richard Lester's Superman 3 and the final entry in this film. The plots of both films see the heroes being infected by an alien substance that causes them to turn bad. In both films, the hero is introduced to a new love interest, Superman 3 having Lana Lang and this having Gwen Stacy. And in both stories, he must conquer his inner darkness and do battle against a foe who is a shadowy reflection of himself. It is a nice restaurant. How he hoped it would go. Oh, that flattery will get you nowhere, Parker. Now, following the second fight against New Goblin, Peter tries telling Harry he didn't kill Norman, but his former friend won't listen. This is similar to a panel from Spectacular Spider-Man, Volume 1, number 200. Not yet. But, yeah, I didn't know the kind of impact that Gwen Stacy had in the comics, her being Peter's, the love of Peter's life. And, she's way more nicer in the comics, and, her death is a tragedy. If only Marvel would just let her rest in peace, if you know what I mean. Ooh, she's horny. Also, yeah, Harry Osborn getting amnesia actually originated from the comics. Except, it was actually Norman Osborn that lost his memory rather than Harry. This happened after the Green Goblin battled Spider-Man in Spidey Saves the Day from Amazing Spider-Man number 40 in 1966. Norman would remain an amnesiac for several years before finally regaining his memory in The Goblin Lives from Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 9. Interestingly, these suspicions and tensions are similar in Ultimate Spider-Man number 37, which was part of the Venom storyline. And in both stories, Peter had to deny there was anything between him and Gwen. Mary Jane's jealousy of Gwen also echoes her jealousy of Peter's relationship with Black Cat during the Alien Costume Saga. More specifically, the sinister secret of Spider-Man's new costume from Amazing Spider-Man number 258. Oof. Oof. I don't even want to imagine what Peter is forced to pay for this, financially speaking. How many times did he call her? Also, yeah, this was the first time I'd ever seen James Cromwell in anything. But actually, no, it was when I saw him in iRobot. Also, yeah, Spider Man 3 is notable for being the last on screen film for actor Cliff Robertson, who was best known for playing Uncle Ben. 4 years later, well, Cliff Robertson passed away. And yeah, of all the live action actors, Cliff Robertson is my favorite actor to have played Ben Parker. It's interesting how it's filmed through Peter's perspective. Oof, he's mad. Also, this is an interesting fact. Adrian Lester had a cameo as a research scientist who was sought after by the Sandman to find a cure for his ailing daughter. He was seen in one teaser trailer for the film. However, his scenes were cut from the final theatrical version. Now, during filming of a particularly intense stunt sequence involving Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Raimi turned and was amused to see her father, director Ron Howard, standing next to him. Which mistake? Kissing Gwen or the whole Uncle Ben thing? Also, an interesting fact, Scarlett Johansson, Rachel McAdams, and Amanda Seyfried were considered for the role of Gwen Stacy. Which is interesting because, Bryce Dallas Howard is actually a redhead. Now, isn't that ironic? And so we finally get the black suit, or should I say, the symbiote. And well, I'm not sure if it's the symbiote in general, but originally, director Sam Raimi vehemently opposed having Venom as a villain in the film, claiming he hated Venom's lack of humanity, but Marvel producer Avi Arad convinced him to include the character, explaining that Venom had a strong worldwide following. Raimi eventually came to appreciate the character, based on writer Alvin Sargent's script and actor Topher Grace's performance. However, to keep Venom's appearance a secret, he claimed during the film's casting and production that he hated the character and had no intention of including the character in this film or any subsequent sequels. To make amends, he then treated the audience at the July 22nd, 2006 San Diego Comic-Con to the first public images of Venom in the film, albeit with unfinished special effects. Now, I am a fan of Spider-Man's black suit, and I mean the comic suit that's all black and white with no textured details. But apparently, when they tried to go that faithful route, it unintentionally looked like a BDSM gimp suit. So they went with like a black and gray variant on the Spider-Man suit, and I'm going to admit, this was actually my first introduction to the symbiote and the black suit. And finally, I can talk about the symbiote suit. Also, originally, I guess Sam Raimi wanted to have Kurt Connors become the Lizard, and the Lizard would be the original villain of the film. But, Reed Richards originally was the one who found out that the symbiote was a sentient being. Yep. Now, Peter Parker first got the symbiote suit in Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8, which was published in December of 1984. But of course, funnily enough, the suit's first appearance was in The Amazing Spider-Man number 252, which was published in May of 1984. So I guess you could say Secret Wars number 8 was something of a prequel to that comic. And, Secret Wars was number 8 was written by the late Jim Shooter and illustrated by Mike Zeck. Meanwhile, The Amazing Spider-Man number 252 was written by Tom DeFalco and Roger Stern and illustrated by Ron Frenz. And it was actually a comic book fan who suggested the black suit. Comic book fan Randy Schuler suggested Spider-Man get a high-tech black suit. He was paid $220 for his idea. And in 2026, that would be estimated at $686.30. Well, when in doubt, always have a spare camera. Dun 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 dun. Wow, surprise! On May 4th, 2007, while promoting the film on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Thomas Hayden Church revealed that he broke 3 knuckles during the subway scene where he swings to punch Spider-Man and ends up punching a chunk of the wall away. Church said that the effects crew had told him that the brick in the middle was fake, while the upper and lower ones were real. Unfortunately, the foam brick had not actually been put in place yet, and when Sam Raimi yelled action, Church spun around and punched the real brick on the first take. It's like, ouchie. According to James Franco, they had to go back and do some reshoots just prior to the release because test audiences felt that there was not enough in the film. And he does not mean money. Apparently, there were many scenes that were shot but never released on DVD, including a montage of Peter in the black suit taking down criminals and leaving them strung up. Tons of character-building moments. A confrontation scene between Captain Stacy and Eddie Brock, where Gwen dumps Eddie at her father's house, and Peter freaking out after he looks in the mirror and sees a nightmarish version of the Venom symbiote screaming at him. Aha! Spider-Man has discovered the Sandman's weakness. H2O. El agua. Water. Here, take a bath. Now, does that make him Mudman? I'm melting, melting! What a world, what a world! Now, if I recall, it was actually the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon that originated the idea of the symbiote letting out a darker personality in the host, becoming more aggressive. Oh, there's Mr. Ditkovich. I swear, Ursula sounded more American. He's a good boy. He must be in some kind of trouble. I mean, that's, at least, Mr. Ditkovich actually does care about Peter's well-being, which shows he cares about his well-being more than Rent, I would wager. Yeah, but I do believe the cartoon originated the whole host becoming aggressive when under the influence of the symbiote, because normally in the comics, sometimes the suit would drain the life of its host, and sometimes when the symbiote bonded with Peter, it would pretty much have him fight crime while Peter was sleeping, draining him of his energy. And he sounds so satisfied when saying it. And this is where it's subtly mentioned that that Aunt May kind of knows Peter is Spider-Man. And this quote of Aunt May talking about revenge actually pretty much is very impactful. And And it's actually, those words really do mean a lot. I mean, it's something, revenge ain't good. No, sir. Oof. Well, it's nice to see Harry developing skills of painting. Yeah, also Topher Grace was unceremoniously invited to the meeting at Sony. Even he didn't know that he would be auditioning for Spider-Man 3. I think the butler was teasing him. And this is interesting. Over 600 latex web balloons for the rally scene were hand painted with a Sharpie marker. Once again, the Ditkoviches are still the good characters. Also, interestingly, this scene where Harry's cooking omelets, he actually James Franco actually learned how to cook prior to this scene. It kind of makes me hungry for omelets. If Quentin Tarantino was directing this scene, Kirsten Dunst would have taken off her shoes, and then we'd get a close up of her feet. If Quentin Tarantino was directing it. Yeah, burnt butter. Oh no! Well, that went wrong. Or I wonder if that was a genuine mistake. Some of the track and electrical hardware in the subway sets were on loan from SEPTA in Philadelphia and came from the city's Broad Saint subway. Yeah, it's almost like he's Wolverine when it comes to healing. Smoochy smoochy. But I wonder if this is technically considered cheating. Then again, Peter did kiss Gwen, so I think it evens out. Now, when he's wearing the Venom suit, Peter Parker can often be seen gripping his chest where the main part of the Venom suit is. This is to show Peter briefly feeling remorse before the Venom suit causes him to do something irrational and horrible to someone. And there's Willem Dafoe. Once again, cameoing as Norman Osborn. It is cool knowing that he's pretty much played Norman Osborn in mostly every incarnation, with the exception of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Sorry, I'm magnetized by Willem Dafoe's performance. Also, this is a cool fact regarding the symbiote suit. It was actually sold at a heritage auction for $125,000 in 2024. So that was basically 2 days. Now, of course, we know Peter has 2 variants of his suit for this movie. His traditional one and one colored in black that forms due to the alien symbiote bonding to him. The symbiote suit worn in the comics by Spider-Man was a plain black affair with a large white spider on the front and back. Initially, the design for the symbiote suit for the film was made of latex and looked more faithful to the one in the comics, but it was rejected by the producers for looking like BDSM, as I mentioned. The final design was changed for the film to become a black version of Spider-Man's traditional costume, complete with webbing motif. As a consequence of this, the suit Topher Grace wore as Venom also bore the webbing motif. As producer Grant Curtis noted, it's the Spider-Man suit but twisted and mangled in its own right. Additionally, the motif gave a sense of life to the symbiote, giving it the appearance of gripping onto the character's body. Now, the Bow Bridge in Central Park, where Peter meets with MJ, has been in many films. One of the most memorable was in Highlander at the time of the gathering when Connor McLeod meets with his friend Castigear. I did not know this until, later. Honestly, it would have been better if MJ was like, she could have whispered to Peter about Harry trying to kill him, which I think probably would have been better and probably would have resulted in less unintentionally funny faces from Tobey Maguire, at least according to the internet. Okay, maybe if the Venom symbiote had bonded with Mary Jane in this film instead of Peter, well, then it would have then she wouldn't have looked like the black and white Spider-Man suit like in the comics. It probably would have been like a monstrous version of Venom without minus the symbol, of course. Of course, Lady Venom with boobs. Could you imagine if Mary Jane was like Pinocchio, and if she said there's someone else, then her nose would have grown like, pew, whoop, then Peter would know, oh, you're lying. And then Harry would have been like, ugh, game over. Peter just found out she's lying. She's almost got a look that says, happy now, asshole. Yeah, I bet he's laughing on the inside. Eventually, producer Avi Arad regretted including Venom in the film, explaining, I think we learned that Venom is not a sideshow. In all fairness, I'll take the guilt because of what Sam Raimi used to say in all of these interviews, feeling guilty that I forced him into it. And you know what I learned? Don't force anybody into anything. Too bad Avi Arad didn't really learn those lessons afterwards when he started his crummy Spider-Man universe with Sony, and then, Borderlands. And I dated her, remember? Now, of course, Peter and Mary meet at a shop called Despacito Coffee. Desposito. The shop name is a possible nod to longtime Spider-Man inker Mike Esposito. Also, Spider-Man 3 is the third film in history to gross over $50 million domestically in its opening day, after Star Wars Revenge of the Sith and Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. Could you imagine if he just hid under the table just to mess with him? And Spider-Man 3 grossed $19 million in China, more than any other American film up to that point. The previous record holder was The Da Vinci Code, which grossed $13 million. Yeah, I could almost see like that musical motif being like the devil on Peter's shoulder. It's almost as if he could hear his footsteps or him crawling. In in other earlier scripts of the film, not only was a lizard planned to be the antagonist, but so was Electro. Ouch. Oof. If he was any closer, he would have lost a left eye. Then he'd look like a pirate. Arrgh. Also, Spider-Man 3 is the only Spider-Man film in the trilogy to not include any spider sense sound effects. Now, recently, Marvel retconned that Deadpool was the first host to bond with the Venom symbiote before Peter in Deadpool's Secret Wars #3. And during the bonding process, Deadpool drove the symbiote insane, leading to the symbiote's aggression. And Deadpool Secret Wars #3 was written by Cullen Bunn and illustrated by Matteo Lolli, published on July 29th, 2015. So 10 years ago, which is such a strange thing to say. Yeah, he saw me as more of a son. Oof. Yep. Holy cheap shot, Batman. And this feels like a nod to when it blew up in Peter's face. Apparently the ladies like what they see. I was like, what are you looking at? Spider-Man shows his true colors. I don't know, you or the police. Oh, wait a minute, never mind. Definitely can't look up to anyone in ICE. If Spider-Man 3 was done today, Eddie Brock probably would have used AI for his photos of trying to frame Spider-Man. Yeah, that's Peter almost hesitating. What I find interesting is that in the comics, Peter Parker is unintentionally responsible for ruining Eddie Brock's life, while in the comics it's Spider-Man who's kind of responsible. It's like Peter, Spider-Man pretty much unintentionally exposes Eddie Brock as a fraud because it in the death of Jean DeWolf. Police Captain Jean DeWolf is killed by a villain known as the Sin Eater, and it's retconned that Eddie Brock reported on this delusional guy who claimed he was the Sin Eater. But when Peter Parker found out who the real Sin Eater was, he pretty much unintentionally exposed fraud. Unintentionally exposed Eddie Brock as a fraud, and thus discrediting him as a reporter, and so ruining his life. Meanwhile, in the comics, it was in the cartoons. Spider-Man pretty much showed that Eddie Brock was a fraud, and here in the movie, he intentionally exposes Eddie as a fraud. Also, originally, it was supposed to be Mr. Fantastic who would have found out that the black suit is a living organism. But due to the fact that 20th Century Fox owned the rights to the Venom symbiote, they couldn't use him. And it was actually the Amazing Spider-Man number 258 that Peter finds out that about the symbiote being a living being, not only thanks to Mr. Fantastic, but also the villain Puma. Or should I say an anti-hero. Usually depends on Puma's motive. And, of course, the song that's playing in the background, well, I actually found out what it was. It's known as People Get Up and Drive Your Funky Soul, which was sung by James Brown and released in 1973. But hey, now I feel better knowing what the song is. And she's got a look that says, "Oh, what's up with you?" And somehow this is Peter's idea of picking up with ladies. I know I wouldn't try it. Ugh, oh man. Oh man. Yeah, I think now I recognize James Brown's voice. Man, it's like, as much as I love Spider Man 3, I cannot defend this scene for the life of me. You know, I've heard of the phrase, bad weeds don't know when to die, but I don't think I've ever heard of the phrase, bad sand doesn't know when to die. Yep. You know, I think that since, due to the fact that Gwen dumping Eddie Brock was cut, I think it was. I'd always assumed that maybe Gwen never really liked Eddie to begin with, and they were never really in a relationship. It was just, as she said, one date. You like jazz? Find us some shade. Something tells me that lady's skin was crawling. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to lie. As much as I'm willing to defend Spider Man 3 and say, oh, come on, it's not that bad of a movie. Oh, man. This is the scene I am willing to admit, yeah, this is the. Okay, so yeah, Mary Jane is apparently supposed to be singing "Fever" in this scene. It's like, because I've heard it plenty of times, and somehow he just got on that piano. And well, I think does the Venom symbiote know how to play the piano or something? Oh man. So yeah, I'm just gonna be completely honest. Somehow, I mean, this is uncomfortable for me to watch. I mean, imagine you're watching Spider-Man 3 in theaters for the first time, and then you got to use the bathroom, and you need to go and it's you're right in the middle of it, and right after Sandman forms, and so like you need to take a leak, and you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, and then soon afterwards you walk back in, and suddenly you walk in on Peter Parker suddenly dancing. It just it's definitely would be such a strange thing to walk into out of context. And in context, I know it's the symbiote making him do this to try and upstage Mary Jane. And man, it's like, even I found the scene the most what the fuck scene when I was 10. I don't understand. I didn't get it. I mean, I'm wondering if Sam Raimi probably did this scene out of spite once he was forced to put the symbiote into the film, and this was his way of getting back at Avi Arad and everyone at Sony. And well, Honestly, it's like, I guess two scenes I don't like when it comes to Marvel films. Cyclops getting killed off in X-Men The Last Stand, and the dance scene in Spider-Man 3. I mean, both of them I dislike for different reasons. I mean, with the symbiote, with X-Men 3, because of the way they handled Scott Summers, I don't like that he got anticlimactically killed when he deserved so much better. I don't like that. And I don't like this dance scene because it is random, gratuitous, and unnecessary, and they could have done something better, such as like a nightmarish version of the symbiote as a giant, and the giant version of the red and blue suit just tugging at Peter, just like in the comics. That would have been much better to show Peter's conflict with the symbiote. And but instead, we have this cringy dance scene that feels way too long and shouldn't have been there in the first place, and I think was made out of spite. But I guess the one upside is definitely showing how the symbiote drives Peter to go too far as he accidentally hits Mary Jane. And oof. Yeah, it's definitely, to quote Ron Burgundy in The Anchorman, that escalated quickly. But even Mary Jane knows this isn't the Peter I know. And it's like, honestly, this nonverbal acting of Peter being like, oh my god, what have I done? What is this suit doing to me? What's it turning me into? Also, this is kind of a cool transition as the church gets closer. Then suddenly we see Peter brooding in his black suit in the on top of the church. Also, it turns out in the comics, Eddie Brock is actually a Catholic. I did not know that detail until I read the comics. I was like, oh, so that explains why he might have been at the church. Interesting detail. And hopefully you don't have to worry about Blackheart coming into the church. It'd be funny if if Blackheart did come into church and then he's like, oh, whoops, wrong church, wrong movie. Eddie, I'm a Catholic. That's not how prayers work. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's not like I would go into a church and ask God to kill Donald Trump. I know that prayer would never happen. Also, that's a cool detail of the Venom symbiote pretty much desperately trying to keep hold of Peter. And also, interesting fact, this actually is almost like a nice homage to The Amazing Spider-Man number 300, where we first see Eddie Brock at the church praying. Whereas in the movie, Eddie Brock prays for selfish reasons of wanting God to kill Peter Parker. In the comics, actually, Eddie is praying to God, asking for forgiveness over thoughts of sewer slide. Because he was because his hatred for Spider-Man was and his damaged reputation pretty much was making him have negative thoughts and such. But yeah, this scene of Peter rejecting the symbiote still is a good scene, and is also a nice homage to Web of Spider-Man number 1, which was published, I believe, around 1986. Also, a funny story. A funny story about about this. My grandparents, my maternal grandparents, visited me for my graduation in 2015, and we were watching Spider-Man 3 on FX. And when my grandpa saw this scene of the Venom symbiote bonding with Eddie Brock, he pretty much said that this film should have been rated X because of it. Yeah, that's pretty much. What he wanted. That's what my grandpa said. It should have been rated X. Well, I figured you'd all get a laugh out of that. Okay. Web of Spider-Man 1. Now, Web of Spider-Man 1 was published in 1985, 41 years ago, which is such a strange sentence to say. And rest in peace, that doorknob. And yeah, April 1st, 1985. And Web of Spider-Man #1 was written by Louise Simonson and illustrated by Gregory Ben Larrock. I didn't realize how short of a time Peter had as in the black suit. I mean, it's still impactful for better and for worse. Forgiving himself. Once again, Rosemary Harris is proving she's still got it. So yeah, in 1 year, if she's still in good health, Rosemary Harris will eventually be 100 years old. Hopefully. I hope she lives to be 100. I'm really sad to know that Stan Lee and Betty White didn't live to be 100. I hope Rosemary Harris lives to be 100. Okay, honestly, it would have been so much better if Venom kept his monstrous face, and it also would have been better if the Venom voice was lowered to sound more monstrous. I mean, it's pretty sad when Hank Azaria as Venom is more convincing as the villain. Also, you might find this funny. While Topher Grace was a big comic book fan and had read the first Venom stories as a boy, but he found the suit to wear as Venom extremely unpleasant. It took an hour to put on and 4 hours to apply the prosthetics, and it had to be constantly smeared with goo to give it a liquid organic feel. Grace also had to wear fangs, which bruised his gums. I did not know you could bruise gums. But yeah, I actually knew that Topher Grace was a Venom fan, and he really did want to play the character. He loved the character of Venom. I get it, but personally, I think it would. And he also gained 24 pounds of muscle for the role, or maybe it was 16. either way, he really did care enough. But personally, I think it would have made better sense to have to have maybe someone like Alan Ritchson play Eddie Brock. I mean, in the comics, Eddie Brock is 6'3", and he's ripped and shredded, almost right up there with Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger when it comes to being ripped and shredded. And without the symbiote, but and Alan Ritchson is 5'5", and he actually kind of does look like. He does look like a comic accurate Eddie Brock. Also, this film is notable for being the last appearance of Hal Fisherman, the news anchor. Also, it's notable that this Venom's name is actually never mentioned throughout the film. Actually, I didn't notice this when I was a kid, but I actually noticed it now. Now, Eddie Brock and Venom started off in a brief cameo in Web of Spider-Man number 18 in 1986. They would make their first official appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 300 after cameoing in number 298 and 299 in 1988. They were created by David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane. Also, apparently, the actress Jennifer Dugan passed away very young as well. Yeah, and the webbing resembles the animated series. Yeah, Lucy Gordon. Yeah, she died at 29, which is before she was even 29, which is really sad. Oh dear, yeah, she. Oof, yeah. Well, rest in peace, Lucy Gordon. Also, apparently, there was supposed to be a storyline where the Goblin serum was supposed to be so unstable that it would have killed Harry from the inside out. But test audiences found that to be too dark and depressing, so that aspect was left out. You're fired. Any other person would have fired the butler. But it is a good pep talk that motivates Harry. But it would have been so funny if he was like, you're fired. Fun fact, apparently Mary Jane's screams were all recycled from the first two Spider-Man films. I guess Kirsten Dunst didn't have enough screaming power. Spider-Man next to the United States of America flag. America! Fuck yeah! Ooh, pardon me for using the F word. I wonder what it would sound like as Goofy. America! Yuck yeah! Actually, that does sound funnier. That would have killed anyone else. Apparently, the whole spider sense is tingling if you know what I'm talking about was actually Topher Grace's idea to say, so he improvised that. Definitely shows how perverted he is. Apparently, there's a blooper where Tobey Maguire accidentally sneezes during all that, which is actually pretty funny. Whoa, man! Whoa, good thing MJ ducked when those cinder blocks fell. Otherwise, she would have been dead. Of course, blame Peter for that. Because when in doubt, blame Peter Parker. Looks like Peter Parker lives in Eddie Brock's head rent-free. She's wrong as if to say, seriously, bitch? But, I will admit, I think Spider-Man 3 could have benefited from Venom being saved as a cliffhanger kind of a villain, like end it on a cliffhanger and save Venom for something like Spider-Man 4. Because, Venom deserves to be his own main antagonist in a Spider-Man film instead of overstuffing it with two other villains. Oof. And actually, there was supposed to be a climax where where Flint's daughter Penny pretty much goes to Flint and tells him that there is no cure and she's going to die anyway, and she just wants her father to be there, and she doesn't want to die knowing that her father was a bad man. She wants to die knowing he's a good man, which I understand why he wanted to do that idea. Yet now I recognize the archive screams. Oof, rude interruption. And I can imagine Peter would have a lot of bruises after this. It's hammer time. I think Venom's like, dude, seriously? That sand is getting everywhere. Oh, the humanity! Not the end of Spider-Man! The way he goes, And so Sandman turns into Glass Man. That is such outdated 90s slang. It's interesting hearing like this heroic version of the Goblin theme. Yeah, there's also I love how in the bloopers there's a blooper of a CG Spider-Man and CG Goblin being eaten by a giant Sandman, and Sandman has a satisfied look on his face as he eats them. Also, fun fact that that little girl is that Jameson's talking to is actually Sam Raimi's daughter, Emma Raimi. That scene's definitely funny, and definitely one of the good aspects of that film. You know, during that time, MJ could have moved, or yeah, she could have rolled over during that entire time. You know, I swear this team up probably inspired the video game Spider-Man Friend or Foe. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the inspiration. I swear the mask looks a bit uneven. Actually, would have been funny if he said, "Reconcile later. I'm gonna need your help here." Ah, talk about getting a foot in your eye. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. I'm melting, melting. Oh, what a world, what a world. Of course, we all know that's only going to slowly deter Sandman. You just can't keep a Sandman down. And you know, the reason that Venom is able to pretty much get past Peter's spider senses is because, well, because the symbiote has had bonded with Peter for so long, he's able to be one step ahead when it comes to the spider senses. Ooh, that looks like it's painful. Let it go. He says to be saying, well, that's just rude. Ooh, You know, if being impaled didn't kill Eddie, didn't kill Harry, that that smack to the head would have killed him due to the head trauma. And then Peter had an idea, a wonderful idea. But I also like that this is a callback to when Norman got killed. Ooh, that looks fatal. Whammo. This is actually a pretty creative way to defeat the villain with the whole sound thing. Good, 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 good vibrations. Good, 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 good vibrations. Now, originally in the film, towards the end,
Behold my true form! Roar!
Originally in the film, towards the end, the symbiote would have revealed a smoking skeleton when Spider-Man separated the symbiote. All that remained was a hunk of bones, meaning that the symbiote drained Eddie's life and fully bonded with him. The skeleton props were also made, with Eddie's skull having a resemblance to Venom's face. This was reshot because it scared and traumatized lots of children in the test audience. I mean, the 10-year-old in me probably would have been scared of that too, but I think it probably would have been a fitting comeuppance. I mean, that's just my opinion. Yeah, it's like, how would you explain that to the doctors? It's like, oh yeah, I tripped and got stabbed 2 times by mistake. Yeah, I had no choice. Yep. And apparently, the meetup between Sandman and Venom would have had, apparently Venom meeting Sandman in a sandbox as a kid is playing with the sand, which probably would have been a little silly. Whoopsies. Maybe you should have kept your finger off the trigger, dumbass. But actually, it's at this moment that Peter realizes that crooks aren't entirely black and white. I mean, it was kind of gray. And this also helps make Sandman a much more sympathetic version in the film. But interestingly, in the video game tie-in with Thomas Hayden Church reprising his role as the voice of Sandman, it turns out they actually leave out that Flint Marko is the original killer of Uncle Ben. It's an interesting detail. I mean, which makes the story way different in in the Spider-Man 3 video game. Let's see. What villains appear in the Spider-Man 3 video game? And it's now that my phone decides to take its sweet time loading as I ask this question. This gosh darn signal. I mean, it is a good moment for Peter. As he realizes, I've been consumed by revenge. Uncle Ben wouldn't want that. And so it makes sense why he would say, I forgive you. But yeah, other villains that appear in the Spider-Man 3 video game are Kraven the Hunter, Morbius, the living vampire, the Mad Bomber, Kingpin, and and the and the Lizard, ironically, as well as Apocalypse Gang and Dragon Tail Gang and Waste Tribe. I did not know this. I mean, I kind of forget that some of these other lesser-known Spider-Man villains who didn't appear in the movies did appear in the video games. And I think Mad Bomber was made specifically for the video game. And yeah, this was kind of a very sad scene for definitely for my sister. And I think Harry's disfigured face is pretty much part of what was left of the whole unstable goblin serum destroying Harry from the inside out. But it's good to know that Harry died not with hate, but with love. The love for his friends. Which kind of has his arc be brought to a complete end. Even if it might not be perfect. Did Flash Thompson introduce Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy to Peter Parker in the comics? Also, interestingly, Flash Thompson actually does appear at the funeral. I didn't even realize that until rewatching. But yeah, in the original Marvel comics, Flash Thompson actually introduced Peter Parker to Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy at Empire State University. Pretty much in Amazing Spider-Man number 31. So it makes sense why Flash would be at the funeral. Also, Spider-Man 3 is notable for being the only Spider-Man film in the Sam Raimi trilogy to not end with Peter pretty much swinging around in New York in his Spider-Man suit. And originally, this would have ended with Peter just walking away and him and Mary Jane not getting back together. Which I think would have been probably would have been a downer ending, a downer way to end the film, and probably would have made it way worse. I mean, yeah, it is faithful to the comics with Peter Parker usually never getting the girl, but I probably wouldn't have liked it. But yeah, also this film is the reason I'm familiar with the song "I'm Through with Love." But I actually like that for the most part, aside from Mary Jane singing, there are no words. But it's a nice way to show, Peter non-verbally wanting to reconcile with Mary Jane and she vice versa. Because deep down, she loves him. And it is a nice shot of them just taking each other's hands as they slow dance. It's a quiet and bittersweet scene. And I think it's because, Spider-Man's known for being bittersweet in the comics and in various forms of media. Maybe they won't propose, but they have each other. And they're broken, but they're broken together. And that was Spider-Man 3. I mean, 19 years later, the film may not be perfect, but it's still a guilty pleasure. Yes, I know it's not perfect. Yes, there are aspects of it that don't work. The film's overstuffed with villains who could have benefited from being in separate films. And yes, there are aspects of it even I can't defend, such as Peter Parker dancing. That is something that there's no going back from that. And it is kind of a sad way to end the franchise, but I personally still hold sentimental value towards Spider-Man 3, and besides, it's better than films like Morbius and Madam Web. But yeah, like a lot of fans, it's sad knowing this would be the last time we would ever see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. And I'll talk about what could have been Spider-Man 4 when I do a Commentary Companions episode on The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012 starring Andrew Garfield. I'll get to that, but soon I'll also have to talk about Fantastic Four, Rise of Silver Surfer, another different can of worms. But until then, I'm Tony Garcia. This has been Commentary Companions. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.